so I became the only girl that's ever modeled for Lowrider magazine that has gone on to have her car in the magazine. And I was like, my heart was just like, oh my Lord, I did this. Like I did this. And I feel like that's kind of like one of these things that I try and like push a lot to people is like, if this blonde girl from Canada, like this, like can do this, like you can do it too. Like it's not, the only thing that's really stopping you is like you just saying no to things or not showing up or just not, it's just getting out and doing it. Just get out and do it.
Way.
Octane Hustle. I'm Fastlane Jane.
And I'm Design Muse. And today we have this low-riding, mini truck-loving, badass babe, Georjah.
And by the time we're done, yes.
That was great.
I thought it was perfect.
Wow.
And by the time we're done, you'll have Georjah on your mind.
Wow.
See? You didn't even know.
I feel so loved already, you guys.
Yes.
Oh my.
We want to create a nice space for you.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Now I have a lot to live up to.
And you've got a bigger microphone right here. Are you liking this?
Yeah, you know what? Compared to my little miniature microphones that I annoy everybody with, this is like the real deal. Like normally I'm trying to be the I'm like tuning in to the local 951 Riverside News. We are here with Autotopia LA and
Auto Revolution.
Auto Revolution.
And
we did that
High
pretty good.
Octane Hustle.
It is a nice high of 95 degrees outside where we're all going to burn to lobsters. So we will be staying inside
because
today.
This is High Octane Hustle.
We like everything high octane.
Welcome to High Octane Hustle. Anyways, okay, we're here. We're doing
Party's over.
Party's
Right.
over.
Right.
I'm going to
never
try and
over.
not do anything stupid.
The party's never over.
No, it really
It always
isn't.
just keeps going.
Yes.
I mean, we're always just doing things we love, and that's why we're here today. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to another girl that loves cars.
Oh my gosh.
That's what we love to do.
Yeah.
So, tell us where your love of cars started.
Oh my gosh.
I know, we're taking it back to the very beginning.
How far back do we
All
go?
the way, kid?
All the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
in the
the
womb,
way.
I
To
don't
the
know.
start.
Okay, so I didn't come from an automotive family.
Okay.
Like, so I hear from everyone all the time, and I'm not, this isn't like a throwing shade at anyone else, but people tell me all the time, like, oh, I come from an automotive family, and like I was born into this, and I'm like, lucky. Like, gosh.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, so I didn't, like, my dad liked cars, and, like, he would do an oil change in our family vehicles, but that was about it. So I was very much like a weird art nerd all through school, and, you know, had art club and all that kind of stuff, and didn't really have the opportunity to get into automotive. And so basically, like, I grew up on the farm. I was heavily involved with horses, a little bit different than horsepower.
Yes. But still
Different type
horsepower.
of horsepower.
I mean,
you know what?
still-
Sidebar. Recently, I learned that one horse makes 15 horsepower.
Is that incredible?
Isn't that
That's
weird?
a great sidebar.
That's sidebar. And then one human makes 1 horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, how does this work? But you know what? Okay, back to the story.
I like that sidebar.
Sorry,
Yeah, I
my
do too.
ADD is just gonna come in hot sometimes. So I grew up on the farm, heavily involved with horses, competing horses, this and that. And then when I moved out, 18, 19, the boyfriend I was moving in with at the time, I didn't have a car, and he had this Lincoln sitting beside his shop that had wire wheels on it, and it was insured, and he was like, well, you can drive that if you want. And I was like, all right, sure. And I always liked lowriders, and I appreciated the paint on them, and I would see the odd one here and there back in my hometown, and so I always was like, that's cool, but it just never was a thing that was in my life. And so I started driving this Lincoln, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, this is what I need to do. And so fast forward, it just kind of like spiraled into that. Like, from there, if we go back even a little farther, my dad was adopted. And so he found his biological father, and his biological father had a Cutlass sitting in his carport that he bought brand new off the lot. And he had other vehicles, so he drove it not often. And it was under a car cover. And then when it came time that he was going to sell it, he listed it, and my dad told me about it. And I was like, oh, I don't really know. And apparently a few other people went to go look at it and made some lowball offers on it. My grandfather said no. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I think I'll buy the Cutlass from my grandfather. Like, people always have this misconception that my grandfather may have passed or whatnot, and it got left to me.
Yeah.
So I purchased it from him when I was 19, and I didn't have very much money for it or anything like that. And I just put it on some wire wheels and had it as low as possible. Like, we cut the springs in it, and it would just scrape on everything, and it was great. I thought it was, and it
You
was
had to go like what, 2 miles an hour?
yeah, over
up
speed
a
bumps.
curve.
Yeah, like it was ridiculous. And so
Sideways.
but the car was like perfect. Like,
Okay.
I have the original
like off
build.
the showroom floor.
Yeah,
kind of
like
thing,
no one ever had sat in the back seat of it before.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, and
Nice velour
yeah,
seats.
it was
and-
it's just so
my
perfect.
gosh.
And so basically, yeah, I drove it like that for about almost a year, and then I got hit in an F-350.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it.
And you were okay, obviously.
I mean, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
alive. Emotionally, I was messed up.
that sounds, yeah.
So the car, little trooper of a car, my God, an angel. It drove, so I drove it. It was messed up. So like, it got hit in the front, and the whole front end is totally just destroyed. But it still drove off I was on a bridge when I got hit. It drove off the bridge and into this parking lot. And I remember I was sitting on the curb just crying, because I was like, my grandpa's car's gone. Like,
Yeah.
this is it. And the guy that hit me, he comes up, he's like, yeah. He's like, I know how you feel. He's like, this is my buddy's truck. And I was like, oh, yeah, bro, cool.
Yeah.
Like, so anyways, the tow truck shows up. He looks underneath it. And at the time, I was like so novice to building anything. And he looked underneath it, and he was like, your frame is still good. And I guess the saving grace of it all was the truck was so high and my car was so low that it essentially just sheared the whole front end off the car.
Yeah.
And like my rad was sitting like kind of like sideways.
Right, yeah.
But like the rest of it was okay. Like, all the frame rails were still good, and I was like, well,
It's a good
okay,
car.
like I'll
Thanks,
just
Grandpa.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I guess we're
right?
building
Yeah.
it. Like, and so I took it home. I wasn't covered by insurance, because at the time I was like, I'm poor. Like, I'm young. I can't afford to do all this full collision coverage, whatever. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll figure it out maybe. And a friend in the lowrider community back home was like, hey, I have a Euro clip for the same front end, like
Cool.
what you need.
Yeah.
And so it essentially just kind of spiraled from there. So the car went for paint first. It got painted in a chicken barn by a guy named Corey Lawson, The Art of Sin, if anyone wants to look him up on Instagram. And he had never candied and patterned a full car before. So he like primarily does bikes. And so I gave him some lace, and I said, just throw some lace on the roof. I'm like, it can just be all one solid color. And then next thing you know, I got an update, and he's like, so I put all these ghost patterns on the side of it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what? Like, we just kind of, and so it ended up getting all this like extra things, and then he striped it, and it ended up, so I got hit in 2013. I got the car back from paint in the beginning of 2014, and then I brought it home. We put the most basic hydraulic setup in it possible. Like, it was one pump and 2 batteries. The front went up, and then the back went up, and then it would go down. Like, that was it. Like, it was like so basic. And then off we go. Like, I was like, okay, like, we're gonna, like, I went to the first show and this and that, and it got some love, and I was like, this is cool. And I just, as I went along, it was like, okay, now I get chrome undercarriage for it, and
Sure.
upgraded,
keep
and
working on it,
things
yeah.
and things change, and things start kind of like, you know, as you get the money or whatever you can, or someone selling a part that wasn't good enough for their car, but I was like,
Totally.
that's good enough for
Yes,
me.
yeah.
Like, I was able to kind of accumulate things to build the car, because people constantly ask me, like, oh, how long did it take you to build the Cutlass? And I was like, well,
It was a project.
It's
like an
definitely like an
ongoing kinda.
ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of just got built as it was driven, and it would get taken down for, you know, a few weeks or a month
Yeah.
or whatever it would take to get the next part on it.
Totally.
And then it would be back out again, and off we go. Like, it wasn't like some big grand reveal. Like, I'm building a truck right now, and I would rather build it like the Cutlass was built than this whole truck thing, because it's being built all at once and it's a whole thing.
Right.
But
it just keeps taking longer
and longer and longer.
Hi, I'm Design Muse, Theresa Contreras, co-host of High Octane Hustle, the podcast. I'm also a designer, a custom painter, a builder, and an off-road racer. But what I'm not good at is working on my engines. I know the basics, but electrical gets me every time. So when I came across the Tinker DIY app, I not only knew it was something for me, I knew you guys could use it too. Tinker is a new mobile app which offers one-on-one live help for auto DIYers and lets them work with Tinker automotive experts instantly via live video chat for quick answers for all car-related topics. All their experts are vetted and have professional mechanical experience or are ASE certified. So use our link to download the app.
So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of it, of like how I kind of ended up in this whole automotive community. I just kind of fell in love with the process and the art and how it all came together, and just it was so exciting and rewarding to be able to know that, you know, I got to, you know, make all this stuff happen, and then, you know, go to the like car shows, little car shows or whatever, because we didn't have like big stuff back home. Like, I'm from Canada, and it's not as big of a scene up there than it is down here, for sure.
Totally.
For sure. But, you know, what was there, like, there is some really nice cars up there. And so to be able to go out and be like, you know, you show your pride and joy and you're excited about it. So things just kind of like started spiraling from there. And it was quite crazy. It feels like a whirlwind now. Like, looking back, I'm like, dang.
And this all really started for you as a result of 2014 getting your car back, right? The lowrider kind of culture for you?
I want to say, like, the whole thing really started when I started driving that Lincoln.
I was just going to say,
in the beginning, like that feeling that I had, that I was like, this is cool. Like, this is cool. I remember one time I got that Lincoln high centered on going into a parking lot, and I was like, oh no. And you're learning, right? Like, you're just like, okay, I've never driven a car that's this low before.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
And this long.
And this long and low. And like, I mean, technically I'm still a teenager in my late teens, and I'm like fresh out of high school. I'm like, okay, like, this is what I'm doing. And yeah, you get high centered in going into a parking lot, and you're like, whoops, like, oh well.
Yeah.
But just that Lincoln, I definitely think was like such a, like,
it was the catalyst.
kind of like the groundbreaking moment for me. And
but then the actual, like, kind of restoring or building, that came after, like, 2014.
I think so. Yeah. Like 20, because the car got hit in 2013, and then it was out by 2014 for the first time. So I feel like, that moment, I think the moment that the car got hit was kind of like such a pivotal moment. I honestly, I think about it, I want to say not every day, but at least a few times a week. Yeah. That, like, if that car never got hit by, would I have ever had that push to build a car to the extent that I did? Yeah. Because it kind of left me in this position where it was like, you either do it or you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and like, I was so attached to this thing that I was like, I remember it was sitting in my parents' carport, and I went out there and I put a flower on it, and I would just hug it. Like, I was so sad. I was so sad when and it was all dilapidated and messed up. Yeah. But I just, if that never had happened, like, where the heck would I be right now? Yeah. Like, what?
Well, and how many cars after that?
Oh my gosh. Someone asked me the other day how many G bodies I've owned, and Cutlasses in particular. And because, you know what, I've never owned anything G body other than a Cutlass. Like, I've never had a Regal, I've never had a Grand Prix, and none of that. And I've had about 9 Cutlasses since.
It's more like a turn, like, for you, it's just something close to your heart.
Yeah, totally. So when the Cutlass was down, it was like I wanted to drive a Cutlass still, like, all the time. And like I had the worst ones, like ones that, like I gave them all names. Like there was the donor cutty, there was the ghetto cutty, there was the jungle cutty, there was like it was like there was so many different ones.
Yeah.
And like the jungle cutty I bought for $80. It was sitting in like these.
What?
I was sitting in these.
Was it drivable?
Oh no.
Okay.
It was sitting beside this guy's house, and
It was in a jungle.
and yeah, that's why I got the name. And I went to this old man, and he was like, you know what? He's like,
we
I
all
was
know
going to
this.
donate it to the school, but you know, he's like, you could take it for like, and I thought he was going to say like $250.
Right.
He was like $80. I was like, sold.
Oh my gosh, so random number.
And I was like, all right. I brought it home, and there was this rope coming out of the back end of it around the back bumper, and I cut it, and the whole bumper fell on the ground. It was so rotten. It was so rotten. So I stripped it, and it went to scrap. Sorry, jungle cutty, but it provided a lot of great parts.
Totally.
A lot of great parts. But yeah, that was very sad, that one.
But a lot of like all these stories, like it comes from necessity. You know,
Yeah.
like you were like, okay, my car is in this predicament. Like, I want it back. What do I need to do?
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
you
And
just kind of
you
like
figure it out.
You just
know?
try and do anything, and a lot of the car, because people gave me so much credit for the car coming out, and I try to make sure I always tell them that like there was a lot of people that helped me, like a lot of people that were like, hey, take this tool, go do that.
Yeah.
Like whether it was they physically did the welds on, because I didn't know how to weld anything and reinforce my frame or anything like that, but or it was just like, hey, go sand this, go figure it out.
Yeah.
Like you have to figure it
Right.
out. And so I learned so much in just being put in that position to learn, because there was no other opportunity for me to learn otherwise, you know, like, and so it was such a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And it's just been crazy.
That's so cool.
It's evolved from there.
It's evolved so much, so much.
So did you have any idea that it was going to turn into now a career?
Oh my gosh.
Was that the initial hope?
You know what? So there was a 7-Eleven around the corner, and we used to get Lowrider magazine from there all the
Okay.
time, right? And basically, like, you'd see the girl on the cover with the car and whatever, and I was like, damn. Like, I was like, that's cool and all. And I was like, maybe I could get it in, like, a magazine one day. And then we took the car, we would take it into Washington and go to, like, shows down there. So, like, our little local community.
So they're bigger down there.
A little
like,
bit.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and so our little Canadian community would meet up, and we'd all drive across the border together
That's
and go to
rad.
the shows
Nice.
and then
Yeah.
come back together. We
Yeah.
always, even though we were
Totally.
different clubs or
Yeah.
whatever. And so when I was coming down one time, a photographer was like, hey, we'd like to shoot your car for Lowrider Scene magazine, which was a kind of a newer sort of lowrider magazine. It's kind of around when Boulevard magazine sort of died out, but this was coming up. And anyways, but long story short, so they're like, and we want you to be the model for it. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay. And I had kind
This
of
is
like,
what I wanted, but I'm not sure.
yeah, definitely.
I wanted to come through, but I don't. I'm so confused.
And so, yeah, I literally, when they hit me up to shoot the car, because they were like, we want to do a female feature, this and that. We want female-owned vehicles, yada, yada, yada. And so it was like, I was like, okay. And I had just got my chrome A-arms for the car. So I was like, I need to put these on before the shoot.
Right.
Like, I was like, oh, man. And so got them on, went down to this show, did this shoot down in, like, kind of Seattle area. And then it came out in the magazine.
That you bought at 7-Eleven?
It wasn't a 7-Eleven.
Damn it.
Just wait.
Damn it.
Just wait.
Okay.
We got more. I
Okay,
promise.
good.
My stories are long. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. I'm
So-
on the edge of my seat, though.
Things like when that happened, it was kind of a pivotal moment in my career, because like the title, the headline thing that they put on it, because they put, like, my car's name's Biological because it came from my biological
I love
grandfather.
that.
Yeah.
And so they put Biological, and they put owner, model, builder, Georgia. And I was like, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, I did it.
Yeah.
And so
Love
things
that.
like, so I was 22 at the time, and things like all of a sudden like went a little bit crazy. Like, so this show in Chicago calls me up, and they're like, we want you to come out to our show and be a model at our show. And I was like, like what? And they're like, yeah, we'll fly you out. Like, well,
like
we
didn't
want you to do it.
And that yet.
Hotel?
No, they're like, we got you. Like, you're covered on everything. And I was like, so I did my due diligence and I like hit up another model that had worked for them before. And it was like, because if you're watching and you are a model and you do not do safety, I swear to goodness, I will come for you because you need to do your background checks, ask other people, and make sure you're safe all the time. Anyways, back to the story. So
thank you for that public service announcement.
Yes. I reached out to another model and I was like, yo, are they cool?
Yeah.
Was your experience?
Yeah, that makes sense.
She verified it for me. And basically, so I was like, all right. And they're like, okay, well, they're like, we'll fly you out of Seattle instead of Vancouver because it's a lot cheaper for us. So for me, I was like, I'll make the 3-hour drive. And my parents were like, they're like, what? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh, so-and-so's going with me. Don't worry, it's fine. Right. Little old me by myself crossing the border at 2 a.m. to make my 5 a.m. flight in Seattle. Like, I'm just like, like, it'll be fine. And off I flew to Chicago. Like, sometimes I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Adventure.
I
think that's what went.
I was like, I'm an adult. It's fine. But I'm like, I'm a young woman. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, 22, you're an adult. But like, sketch.
You're a young adult.
Yeah, like flying to Chicago for a lowrider show. You know,
sounds blonde too.
Like, I'm like, what am I doing? So, anyways, I go to Chicago, do the show. It was great.
Oh,
it was
that's awesome.
Absolutely great.
Yeah.
And I like meet some other photographers that are there. I do some photo shoots. I come back and I'm like on like a high. I'm like, wow, oh my gosh. And
that's why you went out there because you knew.
Yeah, I was like, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I guess I could backtrack on the story, but I probably shouldn't.
Oh no! Now that you said that, you have to. All right.
So I was working I started working at a custom shop. I was working like at a custom shop at the time, and I was kind of doing the front of house, a little bit of like they were teaching me some stuff in the back, like a little bit about wiring, a little bit about welding, stuff like that. And at the time, my boss had said to me, he's like, hey, you should write like a letter of intent out, like for sponsorship for your stuff. Like you're starting to get kind of noticed, like do it. And I was like, what the heck?
Because he had a custom shop, so
he knew about that type of
stuff.
stuff. And I was like, what the heck is that? Like, what do you mean? He's like, just write a letter, this and that. We'll put it together as like a package, like put your photos in it with your car and the magazine that you were in and this and that. And the magazine hadn't come out, but I had the photos, like, and like it came out online, but it hadn't come out in print because it was coming out in print at SEMA.
Okay.
And so basically I sent out all these letters and I got hit back by Hoppo's custom suspension. Yeah. And so at the time, this is 2015, and they were like, oh, if you're ever in town, come by, say hi, whatever. So I come back from Chicago, and I get hit up by a photographer that was from Lowrider magazine. And he's like, you should come out. We have this other stuff going on. I'm working with this other brand. You can, like, we can have you work some stuff. And I was like, okay. So off I go down here to California, and basically they're like, oh yeah, we do this, that, the other. He's like, oh, I live near Hoppo's. I know Hoppo's. I'll take you over there to go meet them. So I met them, and they're like, hey, you're the first and only person that's ever written us a physical letter and said, hey, like, we'll work together. And they're like, we want to work with you.
Right.
And I was like, holy crap. And so they were like, yeah, let's do a photo shoot. Like, let's do some promo stuff and like see how things go. And from there, they essentially became like my family.
Sure.
So
the people that believe in you like that.
Yeah. So they kind of took me under their wing, and I started touring with them at all the major Lowrider magazine shows as like their Hoppo spokesmodel.
Nice.
And we upgraded the setup that's in my car. And
you're like, that's all I really want, right?
Yeah. I was like, I just want my car to be a little nicer.
Parts.
I'm just here for parts, guys. So yeah, it was like,
I'm just being real here.
It's super unreal. And so that sort of in that timeline somewhere in the mix. I don't know if it was before. I think it was actually even before that, maybe. So I ended up going to SEMA for the first time in 2014. And the magazine that the car got shot for came out at SEMA.
Nice. Oh my.
And it was along the wall with all the free magazines. And I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And I take my magazine to John Kosmowski from House of Color. And I'm like, can you sign this? Because my car has your paint on it. Yeah. And like, wow. And Lowrider magazine hit me up and they're like, hey, like, because I had messaged them back and forth a little bit. And they're like, yeah, we'll shoot you while you're in town. And that was like, for me, I was like, that's all I want. Like, I just want to, if I can get into Lowrider, like,
I know.
Wow, like, that's the coolest, like, that would be. And so they shot me as a model with, it was 70 or 71 Caprice in the desert in Las Vegas. And I was like, that was like such a pivotal moment for me. Like, I was like, I did it. I made the magazine. My feature came out and a month later, they took women out of the magazine. And I was like, wow. I was like, I made it. Like, before they cut it out.
That's so crazy.
And so it was like a big corporate type thing, and them trying to save a family image and all this kind of stuff. So they pulled the models out, and I mean, it is how it is.
Sure, but you made it. You said
so. I was so excited, and so then I was like, wow, okay. Then
how do you do? What do you do next then? Right?
Yeah. So then I'm like touring with Hoppos, and things are going well. So I'm like, wow, like maybe I can get my car to Las Vegas for the Lowrider Super Show. Like I can take my car there.
There you go.
So fast forward, we're in 2017, and I'm like, this is going to happen. I submit my application, it gets approved, and I'm like, okay, we got to upgrade the car. Like, we got to add all this extra chrome. I'm like trying to do as much as I can.
Again, this is all reasons for just getting better cars. Right?
Yeah, we're just trying to get better. We're just trying to get better.
What else can I do next?
And basically, so we trailered it down to Vegas and did Vegas Super Show, and Lowrider was like, we want to feature your car in the magazine.
Nice.
And I was like, no fucking way.
Right. And let me back up for 1 second. You're still in Canada, right?
I'm still, living in Canada. So I brought the car down.
So
it was like a 30.
I understand.
It was like a 30-hour drive to get it to Vegas.
That's commitment, though.
Yeah.
Girl, that is rad.
And so after the show, I met up with Hector, Sugar Mill Studios, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna, because you're the owner, he's like, we'll put you in as well. Like, you're just gonna like sit in the car, be the owner of the, because we need a portrait of you with your car, and then we'll write a whole feature on it. And then the car came out in the magazine in mid like September of 2018, and so I became the only girl that's ever modeled for Lowrider magazine that has gone on to have her car in the magazine. Awesome. And I was like, my heart was just like, oh my Lord, I did this.
Rad.
Like, I did this. And I feel like that's kind of like one of these things that I try and like push a lot to people is like, if this blonde girl from Canada, like this, like can do this, like you can do it too. Like it's not, the only thing that's really stopping you is like you just saying no to things or not showing up or just not. It's just getting out and doing it. Just get out and do it.
Way.
And so it all just goes back to like I think about like, man, if I didn't get in that accident, if I didn't jump on that plane, if I didn't go to that car show or whatever, like if I didn't write that letter, like all these things happen and they put you where they are, but it's because like I was kind of delusional, like to be honest with you. Like you have to live in like this whole like
I don't know if it was that though.
I mean a little delulu. Like I feel like you have to live a little bit like in this delusion where like you believe in yourself a little bit more than anybody else does.
Oh no, that's it right there.
And because nobody and not to be rude to anybody, but nobody really will believe in you until they see it happen. A lot of times. Until it actually happens.
That is correct.
And when they see you believing in yourself, I think that makes a whole
difference.
Yeah. You have to be the first person to believe in yourself. You have to be. Yeah.
For sure. Like you and when something knocks, like you can't be in a way like you have to like kind of embrace when you fail. Like, and you have to like be okay with failing and like okay with like this like uncomfortable position that you're like things go wrong. Like things don't always work out. So
cars get hit.
Cars
look
get
at
hit.
how that changed the trajectory
I thought that was
of
the
your life.
end of the world.
But it was the beginning.
It was like such like a beginning for me.
Right.
And it's just crazy how like it's the ripple effect, you know? You throw a pebble and then off it goes, and it really is like that.
But it's like the never give up attitude. Like you were like, no, like I want this still.
I can
like,
still do it.
I'm going to do this.
I'm
going to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
And
you just kind of make it happen
Yeah.
as you go along, and like you might not have the answers. And that's kind of like the beautiful thing about anything in life is like you don't have to have the answers. Like you don't have to know. You don't have to be fully educated in it or whatever. Like you can figure it out. Like YouTube certified mechanic. So
plug right there.
I imagine a few of them are.
So like it's just you just figure it out. You make it work when you think you can't. And don't let me like super sugarcoat it, because there are days that really suck.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like days where people say the meanest things and you're like, come
What did I do to
on. Like,
Yeah.
But it gets better.
Well, I mean, even that moment. I mean, when it got hit, you probably thought it was the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was the end. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is it. Like, this is, the universe told me that I shouldn't have ever done, like, I was like at the lowest of low. But yeah, it's so crazy how, like, I wish I could go back to little Georgia sitting on the curb and be like, it's gonna be okay. This is the best thing that could happen to you.
And really thinking about it was that, can you just add a little bit of lace?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of, like you unleashed a monster.
Yeah, 100%. It was crazy. I went to the fabric store and I picked out all these different laces, and I was like, ooh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Right.
But oh man,
That was just the beginning.
yeah, for real.
Holy cow.
And then things just spiraled out of control. Like I just couldn't. I
In a good,
in a
positive
great way.
Yeah,
In a great way. Like
but I think
my
what
whole
it
life
is
is
a
out of
lot
control.
is like we embrace it more, and like that as you tell your story, that's what it was. Is you were like, oh, I like this. I want more of this.
Yeah.
How do I like? You put yourself into your car, into the car. You went and got the lace. You went and did these things that put more of your signature on it.
Yeah.
And then you started modeling it, and even that is your signature now of you with your car and stuff like that. Like all these things became like you just embracing yourself, loving what you do more.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. I found that because the model thing's kind of weird. It's a very tough sort of thing in the automotive industry, because especially I find in the last, I want to say 3 to 5 years, like as a model, like if you are a sexier model, you don't get taken seriously as an automotive builder. You are one or the other. You don't get to be both. And I try and blend both, but it is hard. It is very hard, because you want people to take you seriously, right? And know that you know stuff about your vehicle, or you understand your build and all that kind of stuff, and that you can build things. But it's hard because they see a sexier side of you and they immediately are like, blonde bimbo.
Yeah,
That's it.
Sure.
And so that's been a very hard sort of thing to navigate, because people want one or the other, and like finding that like, I'm just like, you know what, you can get dirt under your nails and still wear makeup. Like, it's fine.
So you're trying to help break that stereotype.
Yeah.
That it's out there, because that's what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm very much about, you know, do what makes you feel good. Like, if you feel great wearing a freaking hazmat suit, wear that. Like, if you feel great in a bikini, wear that. Like, I don't care what anybody else wants to do. Like, do what works for you. That's like so important. But also, it's like people
it confuses people, doesn't it?
It's very confusing for people. The beginning of it, when I first started getting in front of a camera, it was like a whole thing of like, I didn't know that I could do it.
Okay.
And then I saw the photos. I backstory again. I was really bullied in school, like really bullied. Like kids spit on me in high school. Like it was rough. And when I hit grade 11, the school counselors called my mom and said, "You need to get her out of this school because this is going to be the end of her." And so my mom removed me from the school because it was going to be bad. I finished in a night school. And so I had a very, very, very low self-esteem. So when I first saw myself in front of a camera, like I saw like the images, I was like, no way, that's me? Yeah. Like, really? And it like kind of sparked this thing in me that was like, you know what? Like, fuck everyone from high school.
Yeah.
I'm going to be great. And it kind of like lit this sort of little fire in me that was like, I felt like I had, in a way, like it's kind of dumb, but I felt like I had something to prove. Like I had something, like I needed to
no, it's not dumb.
Yeah, like it's like,
it's the fuel we sometimes need.
Yeah, like I feel like it just gave me this fuel of like, I saw myself, I'm like, I can be hot. Like, like, I'm not the ugly kid. Like, And so it kind of like lit this thing. So I was like, if I could be something, like that would be cool. Like, wow, like if I can like, and it made me feel good. It built my confidence so much. And like whether or not someone wants to tear me down for an image that I've done or this or that. Sure. And I've made a whole hell of a lot of mistakes along the way in learning and how to navigate the whole model thing. But like at the end of the day, like it gave me a confidence that I never had before and like put me in a position to like be like, oh, I actually like myself in that photo rather than just like picking apart and as a woman, I'm sure you both understand, like we pick ourselves apart, like always. Daily. Like that's just like a natural thing to us for some terrible reason.
Right.
But it kind of just gave me a new light to myself.
Baja Forged, signature vehicle builds and off-road products built to forge your own path. Baja Forged was basically made because we loved off-roading. We loved the open roads. If you're looking for off-road products to help you get out on the terrain, visit bajaforged.com. Follow us on Instagram at Baja Forged for our latest builds.
Since 1987, GTS Customs has specialized in resto mod Corvettes. From widened bodies to pro touring vehicles with all today's modern technology. If you've got a Corvette, an old Corvette, and you want to make it drive like something new, contact gtscustoms.com.
So what part of that with the confidence part, like, was it you seeing yourself like that you could take this photo and then when you saw what you look like in the photo, like, is that what started to give you the confidence?
I feel like that. Yeah, definitely. Like it definitely, I don't know how I want to word it.
Yeah.
Gave you a voice.
No, even me, I'm like trying to think about how, cause you're talking about it, but like how it came about. It was like an evolution along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Like it was like kind of like the worm to the butterfly, you know, like, cocoon. Because you know what, there was so many like trial and error. Like I look back on old shoots that I've done because now I have like this collection of 10 plus years of model stuff. And
your iconography.
And like it's crazy because like I've done stuff from like sunglasses. Like people don't realize like I've done so much outside of the automotive world. Like I've done stuff for sunglasses companies and makeup ads and fashion stuff and lingerie companies, and like there's been so many different elements and things that I have done. Mm-hmm. And I look back and like just navigating and figuring out how and what to shoot, and then also doing creative stuff, and some of it worked and some of it didn't. And then at the time I was like, I thought that the image was great, and now I look back, I'm like, dang, that was cringy. Like, but it's all sort of part of it is trial and error, and like, you know, like I like some of like my old stuff, I'm like, dang, I'm like, that kind of sucks. But that it was at the time like a stepping stone to where things landed, you know?
Yeah.
And like also like part of the time, because in the early 2010s or whatever, like the style of things was so different.
Oh, wow, right.
And you like, it's just like things.
Again, I'm cringeworthy.
Yeah, I'm like,
that
outfit
Yeah, what
choice
was going on with that
might
hair?
not have been the best. Oh, that bump it. Like, oh, no, those eyelashes. Goodness gracious.
Well, and I think what's really interesting too is when we're talking a little bit about people throwing shade.
Yeah.
And how even that, I think, stokes a fire of confidence, does it not?
Yeah, like people always tell me, actually recently, especially when I work with like Hoonigan or whatever, and like the guys that I work with all the time, they tell me, they're like, don't read the comments. And I'm like, I don't live in the comments by all means, but I like to read the comments because I feel like I educate myself on what is going on. I like to interact with people that are genuine and kind and nice.
There are those out there, yeah.
Yeah, and there are, and but exactly like you two fine ladies, and but like you kind of learn a little, like you learn a lot from reading the comments.
Yeah.
It sounds bad. If you can't handle reading the comments, please don't.
Yeah.
Because honestly,
Well, it
like
goes back to like the high school part of bullying. Like it
yeah.
can be both. It's
people
really both
are
extremes.
ruthless.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
ruthless.
Well, they're little
But-
keyboard warriors, and
Yes.
they think they can say anything. And I think we were talking about this another show. Wow, what happened to if you can't say anything nice?
Don't say anything at all.
Don't say
Yeah.
anything at
But,
all,
like,
right?
It kind of goes back to a few things for me. Like, one, what kind of you got to think like what kind of person has the time, wants to take the time, wants to put the energy into writing a comment like that. Like, consider the source.
Yeah.
And then two, like, thank you so much for the engagement. I appreciate it.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
My recent thing that I do, and
I like
man,
it.
maybe I'm a bad person for this, but recently I really enjoy commenting back to people that say mean or negative things because I like to bait them. Like, I'm like, really? Tell me more about that. No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. Like, God, I can't believe how dumb. Like, and they'll comment more, and I'm like, well, thank you for the engagement. I appreciate it, and you boost your video or whatever the heck you're doing, and
I love this.
At the end of the day,
I
you
love how
win.
you figured that part out.
Like, I'm like, go for
Sure.
it. And it's and then I like to tell them at the end of it when they're done, I'm like, also, just in case you didn't know, by commenting this much on my video, I'm gonna pop up more for you. The algorithm's gonna feed my content to you more.
Yeah.
So I really hope you like it.
shoot.
Like, you are doing yourself
fantastic.
a disservice. Like, I'm like, but by all means, like, thanks for the views. Like,
Because they're
Absolutely
trying to
love that.
prove how smart they are.
oh yeah, it's just these. Oh, it's unreal. But like, if
That
you
is
have
fantastic.
the time for it,
I don't think I've had someone have
Explain it that way.
have that perspective and spin on that.
I
So
like,
it's
believe
perfect.
me, like I have seen and heard it all
Yeah.
comment wise. Like you name it, I have read it. But at the end of the day, like it's like it says a whole lot more about you than it does about me. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I utilize the block button quite often.
And look at how many people you're affecting by sharing that content, because you might be putting a spin on it that kind of, is, I'm stabbing you back a little bit. But then there's other women or other men or anybody who else is in your thread reading that going, yes, I love this girl.
Yeah, and I try
She's
and do it with
standing
like
up for me.
a niceness in a way, like a
Totally.
little bit
Yeah.
like
Totally.
I'll be extra nice to you
Right.
because you're being a dick to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, sure.
I love
I'm
that.
like, so you'll be even more annoyed with me because you won't know what to say because I'm telling you to have a great day and that you should kiss your mother.
I'm so confused.
I don't know.
Call your mama.
Every once in a while, I'll get one that's like, it'll be like especially if it's like a super young guy, like underage guy or a older guy that like you can tell has like wife and children and the whole thing. And if they write something super derogatory, I will screenshot it and I will take it to your family and I'll be like, deal with your person.
So yeah,
and then
someone else said that, like, oh, I just sent this to their wife.
Yeah, I'm like, this is for them to deal with. That's none of my business. Like, or like if it's a young person, like before they get blocked, I'll take it and I'll give it to their mom and be like, please have a word with your child. Like, oh my God. Like, you should not be writing things like this on the internet.
I love it.
Like, because it's usually.
I love that you take time to do that.
Like, I'm like, a lot of times I won't and I'll miss, but like every once in a while, I'm
You're
like,
called to the comment section.
I got an extra minute today.
And when he come back,
I'm like, But yeah, you know what? It's all like, I just try and have a laugh at it, because you know what? If you're not, then you're letting it bother you. You know, like people do say.
So then, how did you figure out that side of it? Like what gave you? What made you want to spin it like that? Because that would have been hard at first, you know? Like at first, like everyone says, don't read the comments. You're like, no. Yeah. Like, what made you think to
going down the
take that
comment
part
rabbit
of it?
hole?
Yeah.
It's you know what? For a long time, like things didn't bother me, but like they would sting at first. Like I think, you know what? Bullying does a hell of a lot for your self-esteem when you're in high school and stuff. So I already had the thick skin, you know? It like did something for me. So I already had like a little bit of like this like stamina, if you will. And so I'm kind of able to just like, okay, whatever, consider the source, this, that, and the other. And it just made it a lot easier when I took that sort of, you know, thought process to it. But that being said, I had an Instagram account probably, I don't know, 2019 is like 5 years ago. And I went through some like life changes on it, and I lost a bunch of weight, and people came at me really hard. And I posted a before and after because I was proud of myself. And there was no word of a lie. There was 1,000 comments on it, like going off. Like, do you have cancer? Like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? You looked better before. Like, just, I shut my whole account down. I deleted the account. And at that time, like I had 100,000 followers on that account, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. Like, I'm done. Like, that's enough. And I deleted the account.
That's what this is going to be about.
I was like, and I never reactivated it. So I made it a whole new account. I was just going to do personal stuff, and I like went on this little hiatus thing. And then I was like, well, what the hell? Like, what am I doing? Like, now I'm letting all these people win. Like, you know, I still love what I do, yada, yada, yada. Like, that was like a one pivotal moment where things did. Because, like, it was so much all the time that I kind of reached this breaking point, and I was like, that's enough for me. And I just like shut it all off. And so building kind of back up from there, it kind of like gave me this whole like, well, you went through that, so everything else is pretty chill since then. It's all right. It's okay. In recent years, like things have been like, yeah, you get the odd one here and there. You hit the block button, you do whatever, this and that.
But
like,
that all at once,
all at once is like, is rough.
That's just a lot to deal with,
Like, I couldn't imagine actually, like, when someone actually gets canceled on the internet, or whatever you call it, like, how that would go, like, mentally for someone. Like, whatever they did, or if it was right or wrong. But
along those lines of the positive and negative comments, how do you deal with self-care? How do you kind of get yourself into the right headspace? Maybe you can share with us how we're going to, you know, kind of learn from you on that.
Oh man, like what I kind of do like on a daily, like to like
that
for myself,
or
like
when you have things like zing you like that. How do you pull yourself back into, hey, this is Georgia's space?
Yeah, I think a big one of my dog helps me.
Oh, love dogs.
Oh, this is my love of my life. Him and I, 14 years together.
Love it.
I
We've just
love
been
it.
doing
What kind
this
of
all
dog?
this. He's a Boston Terrier, a little bit of Chihuahua.
wow.
He's like he came out of a barn. He runs on 3 legs. He's blind. He's been blind his whole life.
love it.
His ears are too big. He's wonderful. He's like I say, he's the love of my life. To put it in perspective, this dog has been with me in every single vehicle I've ever owned. Like when I got my driver's license, he was in the car with
That's
me. Like
rad.
yeah, he's super cool. Anyway, so my dog definitely
Yeah.
Otis. But other than that, like I try and like sometimes take a mental break, like go for a walk with him, or like I make sure I stay active with things and like still do other things that I like to do. I then try and channel
Like what?
Pardon?
What other things do you like to do?
Oh, I like to go to the gym, which is I know sounds super lame, but it helps
sounds
my
great.
anxiety a lot. Like
Okay.
I'm sort of a little bit of an anxious person, so if I can go and work out, it like kind of gets the zen going a bit more because I get out all those beams that I have that were, jitters or this or that,
Okay.
So I like to stick to that. I like routine. Routine helps me.
Yeah.
Because get up, go to the gym. I have an office, so I go to my office. I do get all my stuff done. I have to get whatever else needs to get done for whatever project that I'm working on, and make sure I get the dog out. Like I like to stay in this routine, and I feel like that really keeps me in line. When things are a
Grounded.
little bit off, then I kind of go. I think it probably
Haywire.
a little haywire.
Yeah.
And just when I was back home, when I say home, I mean Canada. Being out in nature was so big.
Yeah,
for
I was
me.
going to mention that. You mentioned
Yeah.
that, and I'm like, it's so different.
big.
It is,
Being
yeah.
here in like the rat race of LA is been such a 180 to really grasp like LA, because I would come and visit and be here
Yeah.
for a couple weeks or
Right.
whatever, but until you're in the thick of it and here every day, like you don't really grasp how much it's constantly going, and there's so
The
many
energy's
people
different. Yeah,
everywhere, and there's
definitely,
just
yeah.
it's go 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 at all times. So that's been a big adjustment for me in trying to find this sort of like peace and tranquility, like outside of all of it, because it's just so much. LA and whatnot, it's great for networking, it's great for automotive, it's great for so many car events and this and that, but like to get away from it all, it's hard. It's really hard. So I just try and like focus on like making sure I take time to decompress, be by myself
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like people always think that I'm like a super social butterfly, and like when I go to car events, like yeah, but like if I can, like I'm such an introvert. Like I will choose to stay home. I will choose to just tinker on my car or
Yeah.
just take my car and go wash it or whatever, cruise some.
Yeah.
Like there's not really
Totally.
back roads here. Back home I used to go
Yeah.
cruise back roads, like a
Yeah.
lot. Like there's so many, like you just go cruise through the greenery and whatnot, and it was just beautiful. And out here it's like there's so much all
There's
the time.
still a lot of people around.
A
yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit hard. But yeah, just making sure I take time for myself a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try and like shut off the people.
Well, yeah, no, but our energy, like it's getting sucked out one way, and we're like, how do we get it in a different way, and how does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
refresh us
And
know?
replenish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
those are really important things
For sure.
So-
For sure.
I love that.
I know. Okay, I think we're under our questions, huh? This is awesome.
It went too fast.
I know it's
It
gone
went way
Oh
too
my gosh.
fast, right?
Sorry,
Like,
guys.
what?
No.
Sorry, guys.
You too.
I'm just rambling over here.
No, that's what
That's
you're
the point
supposed
of it.
to do.
That's why we put you in the seat there, just to
Yeah.
ramble, girl.
Okay.
It was perfection.
Part of me is like, should I be asking you guys questions about you back?
That's a
Like,
different
I'm like, I
podcast.
feel
That's
like
a totally
that's
different
when you have
podcast.
your podcast,
I'm,
you'll be on it.
I'm supposed to like have that's the polite thing to do in a conversation. Like, I'm like,
Not talk about yourself.
I'm like, I'm not supposed to be talking about myself
No,
all the
you
time.
are. Everybody wants to know about you.
Oh my gosh.
And what makes you tick.
Oh man.
Okay, Sarah, last
So,
questions.
What do you got?
living or not, who would you like to sit down with for a conversation, a cocktail, coffee,
Anything.
anything?
My husband's mother.
Why?
She passed in 2016 before I got to meet her.
Oh.
And I would like to thank her for giving me her son and raising him so well. So-
No, I'm going to cry.
I know.
I know.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, to be honest with you,
really
yeah,
good.
that would be it. That would be it.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Mine is just like, what's the ultimate dream ride for you, and where would you go? Like racetrack, anywhere in the world, whatever it is.
Do you want a long story
Oh,
or a
yeah,
short
long.
story? Oh gosh, here we go.
Okay, maybe not too long.
Like, how long? 2-3 minutes? 4
Okay,
minutes?
I'll do it quick.
Perfect.
I
You got 4
owned
minutes.
my dream vehicle. Okay, I
Okay.
did, and then
Okay.
I sold. I had two. So a 59, a 2-door 59 hardtop Impala.
Okay.
I don't like convertibles. I know everybody wants a convertible, but me, I'm like, I don't want to be seen, and I don't want a sunburn. So basically,
Smart girl.
yeah, right. So, so 2-door 59, body dropped.
Okay.
So like on the ground, cut all the pinch wells off, like maybe on the door, like door it to the ground, like as low as possible it can possibly get. Aircraft, hydraulic suspension, probably some like cross lace wires on it. Anyways, long story short, I would honestly, where would I drive it? Because I've been here in California for so long, I'd be like, oh, I'll go drive it back home. That would be
Sure.
great. If I could just drive the entire West Coast, like do the whole thing in it,
That would be good.
that would be wonderful to me.
Yeah.
So that's the dream car. But I sold them in 2020. I know, lunatic. I came to the terms with myself that I was like, you know what? I had two projects and I was going to
Okay.
make them into one. And I got to this point where I was like, I don't think that I can fund this the way that I am going to want to build this.
Right.
Like it was going to be easily a 6-figure build,
Sure.
and it was just so out of realm living in Canada and doing that without the resources or anything like that. And so I sold them as a package deal in 2020 with no intention of getting any other project. And I was like, going to pour my love into the Cutlass more. And then a couple months later, this Toyota pickup decided
Right.
to pop up into my life. And this guy,
Like, that sounds practical, though.
right?
I like
right?
that one
sounds
now.
practical.
I laugh because I'm like, I sold these 59s and got an 89. I'm like, what?
259s,
I'm like,
I can't add like that. That's funny.
I'm like, what is
Okay,
wrong
no.
with me? And so this little truck has essentially turned into my dream build somehow. Like
Cool.
It started out as, I'm going to slap it together and
I
roll
love
it.
So you didn't think it was going to be in like that? I
No,
love that.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
I literally was planning on just like getting it and just like thrashing on it essentially. And it became like we threw out the entire frame and built a one-off custom chassis for it. And now it's getting it. So all my ideas for my 59 ended up in this 89.
Okay.
So it has a like, and then the interior
Which
of
is so odd because
It's-
I'm not really in the lowrider
Yeah.
world. So I'm thinking Tacoma truck, you lift that, you go
Yeah.
in the snow with that.
yeah,
And you're
it's like on
no,
the
wrong.
ground. On the ground.
You're
Wrong.
telling me.
Mini truck. Mini truck.
Mini trucking.
That- yeah.
And
mini
so
trucking,
it's it got all my 59 ideas. It's getting it already has, it just hasn't been put in. The interior's done like a 59 Impala. It's all, so I took my Toyota seat, I
okay.
made it into a miniature 59
so
seat.
You're pulling some.
I
like
took
you
a
said.
59
Okay.
dash and it's sectioned and chopped and
Rad.
it has a 59 dash in
Love
it.
it.
And so the door panels are like a 59 Impala. So inside it's like a
Okay.
little miniature 59 Impala. On the outside it's just got all the color schemes and paint ideas and whatnot, and it's blossomed into this build that's become essentially a dream build for me now.
Love it.
Oh,
And so-
that's so cool.
It's a great way. Yeah.
Yes. SEMA this year.
I was going to say,
Panic.
so we're revealing it at SEMA then.
Panic
yes.
ensues.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm-
you've
We're
got
at-
a few months left. No worries.
I'm like, oh my God. The truck is spread apart 5 shops in California right now.
Oh.
But yeah,
Amazon.
when I moved down here, I was sad because it went into storage up in Canada. And I didn't go pull it from storage until September of last year. We went and picked it up.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
aggressive build time frame, though, too. Really,
for
when
the
you think about
so
it.
the only
for-
thing
yeah.
left that's stock on the truck is the glass and the doors.
And is that because
Wow.
they have to remain stock, or you just haven't changed it yet?
Yeah.
Those haven't changed. The rest of it, most of it's custom sheet metal.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then everything else is custom on it, like everything.
The doors, you have the original handles.
Yes, but I might get rid of them.
Interesting.
We
Yeah.
were talking about it the other day. We're like, do we shave these?
Right,
Or do we
right.
put
I
a
was
different
like-
handle on? I'm like, I I don't know. But yeah, the engine that's in it. So the guy that I bought the truck off of, he got it when he was like essentially in high school, drove it for 2 years, pulled it apart, was going to build a mini truck out of it. And then it sat in his garage until I got it. So it's almost like 30 freaking years.
Oh, wow.
And so it
That's
had like
crazy.
60,000 original miles on it. And so it has like the motor itself, but it's all been gone through and machined, and it's getting forged pistons, and we
Rad.
turboed it, and the whole thing. So
Nice.
it's getting everything.
I
But
love it.
Yeah, my 59's turned into an
Perfect.
89. But there you go. That's the information.
So good.
That's the
Well, that was the
details.
perfect way to end. You're with your dream ride.
Yes.
There you go.
Now, how do people follow you?
Okay,
Where
well,
are you located in
You
the
can find me
interweblings?
on Instagram at Georjah Erin, GeorjahErin_ERIN, or at georgia.com, GeorjahH.com. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and all those other places with the same name. If you want to see more of the Toyota pickup build, it is on YouTube. We're doing a whole build series, so make sure you check it out there. Show some love. I would appreciate the views because I'm pouring my heart into this build. Please watch it. I am a sad,
Hit the bell.
I'm a sad child. Donate 25 cents a week, please. I don't know. Anyways,
to parts.
someone put Sarah McLachlan over this.
I think that's a great idea.
Anyways.
we know some people.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Hit
you.
like and subscribe.
Hit like and
on
subscribe.
all
Write a hate comment
platforms.
for me, please. Write something
Yeah,
mean.
we want lots of
I
comments
want you
right
to
now on
say
this.
something nice.
I
Start
will,
commenting.
to you.
I
We
will
want
wish you
them.
a nice day if you say a mean comment.
And she'll also tell you to call your mother.
Yeah. Tell your mom you love
Kiss her.
Yeah.
Oh
Please.
You're amazing.
Hey,
Thank you
thanks for having
so
me, guys.
much.
Fantastic.
Oh
This has
my
been wonderful.
goodness.
You guys are great.
I mean, I gotta think. Is she our first Canadian here?
Oh, I think so.
Hey.
High five for that. High five for that. I love that. I love that. Well, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This was High Octane Hustle. I'm Fastlane Jane.
And I'm Design Muse, and this was
Georgia.
Yay! Georgia on her way.
Thanks for watching.
Please like and subscribe. Again, we want your comments below.
Don't
Yes.
write them a hate comment.
Comments.
Write them a
Hate
nice
comments.
comment, please.
Let's see what
We'll
you
take
comment.
any comments.